Today I am going to give the final teaching on the Medicine Buddha practice. And where I left off was with the visualization. So generally, these deity practices are divided into a generation stage and a completion stage. The generation stage of the practice includes everything that has been covered up to the mantra repetition. And actually, it includes the mantra repetition as well with the visualization. So it is visualizing Medicine Buddha and his mandala, having the wisdom deities come dissolving into our visualizations, offering and having deities praise, offering goddesses make offerings and praise to the deities in the mandala, then bathing, drying, and clothing them, and so forth. This is the generation stage. Now, there are three aspects of this generation stage. The first is clarity of the visualizations. The second is a stable pride. And the third is a recollection of purity. So the clarity of the visualizations is having as clear and as vivid a visualization as possible, and having it being stable and having a calm mind. Again, the best that you can do. Don't be half-hearted about this. So the details like the color, shape, position, clothing, ornaments, hand-held objects, all of this is important. And it's fine to just visualize yourself as Medicine Buddha and have Medicine Buddha in front of you for the front visualization, if that's what you're able to do. Don't get down on yourself for not being able to do better. This isn't about that. And finally, what's most important is to have the sense of the presence of the deities, that you're not making some fantasy up. And Rinpoche would talk about how actually having very clear visualizations can be a problem, because you can tend to solidify things instead of feeling that they are made out of light and your imagination, that they're actually solid objects. The second is stable pride. And here is a quote from Thrangu Rinpoche on page 63. Stable pride means recognizing that although you are meditating on the Medicine Buddha as a conscious act, nevertheless, that is who you actually are. Now, ordinary pride is a conflicting emotion, and it's a huge problem. This is not the klesha of pride. It's not ordinary pride. It means that you are free of misconception about who you are. And the benefit that you get, to go into this a little more deeply in this pride of the deity, is you need to have confidence, trust, and faith. Confidence is in the practice, that the practice will work. Confidence in your own ability, and confidence in your Buddha nature. That doubt here is a huge problem. And you want to avoid doubt as soon as you see it arise. The second is trust. Trusting in the Guru, trusting in the practice, and trusting in Dharma in general. And the third aspect of this is faith. And this is faith that is partially based on experience, that as you have practiced, whether it be medicine Buddha or other practices, including sitting meditation, you've noticed benefit from the practices you've done in the past. We have faith in the mundane world. We have faith that when we put the key in the ignition of the car will start. Imagine as you are planning your day, and the day includes using the car to go somewhere, let's say go grocery shopping, and between the time you get up in the morning and the time you get into the car, you start doubting if the car will start. Well, it can screw up your whole day thinking about that. You could even develop a phobia. So we have confidence, and when we turn a light switch on, the light will go on. We have confidence and trust and faith that when we get on an airplane, we will land, and so forth. So there's a quote here on page 64. To the extent that you have this confidence in the validity and the accuracy of the practice, you will have that much delight in it, that much devotion, and that much benefit. So the benefits are, to remind you, freedom from sickness, as well as the accumulation of merit and wisdom. So that is about stable pride. The last one is the recollection of purity. And this means a recognition that the deities are splendid, majestic, wondrous. So that you can't take your eyes off of the visualization. It's difficult for you actually to get distracted. The other is that they're a form of the embodiment of wisdom. They're not solid. They're not made out of coarse substance. They are made out of light, and they're like a reflection in the mirror. They are free from aging and the unity of form in emptiness. So that is the recollection of purity. Now, in the Medicine Buddha text that I have on page 13, line 2, the Tibetan begins Dak Dun Tukkar. The English translation is, the hung in the heart of the self and front generations is surrounded by the mantra Garland. And then what is next is the repetition of the mantra, doing this as many malas as you want if you're doing it alone. So again, the visualization is made out of light. The Medicine Buddha is deep blue in color, the color of lapis lazuli. He's sitting on a lotus with 8 petals, and on top of that is a white moon disk. He wears the 3 robes of a monk. So he looks like Shakyamuni Buddha with his left hand in the mudra of equanimity, holding a begging bowl, and his right hand is in the mudra of generosity, and it holds a medicinal plant. Usually, a Shakyamuni Buddha is depicted with his right hand in the earth-touching mudra, where his index finger is touching the ground, or touching the moon disk that he's sitting on. Here, the hand of Medicine Buddha is in the same place, but instead of facing towards him, as it does with Shakyamuni, it's facing outward. Again, with the plant called Arura, which is a medicinal plant. I looked this up, and it is a purple leaf plum. His ears are elongated, which all Buddhas have. It is one of the 32 major marks of a Buddha having elongated ears. And he has a protrusion on top of his head, which also is one of the 32 major marks of a Buddha. So in the heart center of the front and the self-visualization of Medicine Buddha is a white moon disk with a blue hung on it. And this is the deity's mind or wisdom. The mantra garland of the Medicine Buddha's mantra surrounds it. The syllables face out and go counterclockwise. From the self-visualization, the seed syllables and the mantra garland, multicolored light radiates to the front visualization. It strikes the heart center of the front Medicine Buddha, arouses his non-conceptual compassion. Then multicolored light from his seed syllable and mantra garland radiates to the eastern pure realm of Medicine Buddha. Its name is Light of Vaidura, Vaidura. On the tips of the light rays are offering goddesses, and they make innumerable offerings to the Medicine Buddha and other members of his retinue there in his pure land. Also to the 7 other Buddhas, Medicine Buddha brothers, the 16 Bodhisattvas, and so forth in the retinue. This arouses their compassion, reminds them of their promises, of their vows and aspirations, and then causes them to release their blessings of body, speech, and mind. The blessings of body are in the form of small Medicine Buddha and the other deities. They are in all sizes and innumerable in number. They rain down upon oneself and the front visualization. And are absorbed, like rain falling on a lake. The blessings of speech are mantra garlands that are various colors coming from the hearts of the deities. And they rain down and are absorbed into oneself as Medicine Buddha, and then the front deity or deities, depending upon how many you're visualizing. Again, it's like rain falling on a lake. The blessings of mind are in the form of the Arura plant in Medicine Buddha's hand, and also begging bowls filled with ambrosia, Yeshe Dutse. The blessings rain down on the front and the self-visualization. So this is what is going on while you are doing the mantra repetition. Do the visualization slowly, starting with the light emitting from one's heart. Do the 3 blessings in sequence and concentrate on them rather than doing them all at once. The body, speech, and mind blessings, do it in sequence. If you can hold the visualization, you can go more quickly. But by going slowly, this will help develop your confidence in the practice. And again, the practice will help pacify obstacles, sickness, demonic forces, and disturbances. As you do more of this practice over time, by repeating it over and over again, your compassion, your faith, your devotion, and your insight will increase. And it's fine to focus on things that are specifically wrong at this time with your health or the health of others. What would you like to counteract or eliminate? So focus on the biggest problem, whether it be physical, mental, obscuration, kleshas, whatever. Whatever is your biggest problem, focus on it and have a faith that this is the remedy for the problem. And if the remedy is a particular thing like faith, knowledge, understanding, clarity, or whatever, focus on your body as Medicine Buddha, filling up with that quality in the form of light. So that is how to do the visualization in formal practice. Now there is a short visualization or a visualization for just saying the mantra without doing any introductory chanting at all. So for actual pacification and removal of sickness, visualize a small Medicine Buddha, less than 3 inches on the sick part. The head, the heart, the arm, kidney, lungs, whatever it is. You can do this for other people too. Visualize a small 3-inch Medicine Buddha on the other person. And again, can be used for anxiety, stress, fear, depression, and so forth. So liquid light emerges from his body and fills the area that is sick, removing the problem. If it is more psychological problems like anxiety, stress, and so forth, then have the small Medicine Buddha sitting above your head and filling up your entire body. These short practice where it's just the mantra that is repeated are done in your ordinary body. So this is a short practice that can be done really at any time where you have just a few minutes. After the mantra repetition is finished, there is the conclusion of the practice. And this starts on page 13, line 3. And it begins Dik Tung Kun Shak. The English is, I confess all wrongs and downfalls and dedicate all virtue to awakening. May there be auspiciousness of freedom from sickness, suffering, and doons. Doons are samsaric beings that cause harm, such as illness. There also is included here a confession, which is done with an attitude of regret. And this would be anything that is done that is wrong or inappropriate, downfalls, breaking vows, being inattentive during a practice, the 10 non-virtuous actions. And then a dedication to the awakening of all beings, which is a practice of generosity. And then an aspiration that there be freedom from sickness, suffering, and malicious beings. The next praise on 14, first line, page 14, line 1, begins Jikten Panam. And this is the dissolution of the mandala. And it says in English, the worldly ones return to their own place, Benza Mu. So we are requesting that the worldly deities in the front visualized mandala go to their places where they reside. And these will be in the God realms. The 10 protectors of the 10 directions go in their specific places in the 10 directions. And then the 12 Yaksha chieftains, the 4 great kings, the rishis of medicine to their attendants, all of them go to their respective places. Now there's a note which I am going to read you. This is a footnote in Thrangu Rinpoche's book on Medicine Buddha Teachings. It's on page 184, and it's note number 32. This is a translator's note, or actually, it's not even a translator's note. Maybe it's an editor's note. So this is what it says. What the translator here is calling mundane deities, and then in parentheses, in fact, if we met one of them, one suspects that it would be thinking of anything but mundane. Just as if we met Flash Gordon or Darth Vader, we would hardly regard either of them as mundane. End parenthesis. So I'm going to go back and I'll read the note without that parenthesis. What the translator here is calling mundane deities are what are oftentimes referred to as worldly deities, which means that although they are said to reside somewhere in the God realms and are said to be very powerful, they are not said to be enlightened. Buddhists recognize the relative reality of such deities, make offerings to them in order to please them, ask them politely not to bother Dharma practitioners, ask for their protection, even ask them sometimes to help out with the weather, but never take refuge in them, for they themselves are not thought to be liberated from samsara. So we have requested that the mundane worldly deities go back to where they reside. Next, beginning with the Yeshe Damsik, the English is the Yeshe Paz and the Damsik Paz dissolve into me, and I into the all good expanse of primordial purity. Emaho. Emaho means wondrous. So what happens here is the 8 medicine Buddhas and the 16 bodhisattvas dissolve into your heart center if you are visualizing the complete mandala. And then the self-visualization gradually dissolves into light and then into emptiness. Rest your mind in that experience. This is the completion stage. Resting in that gap between the dissolution of the mandala and your self-visualization and the next thought that enters your mind. This is Mahamudra. So again, the completion stage is resting in that state of non-thought the best you can. You can't force it, and as soon as a thought arises, then go back to chanting if you're doing this on your own, and if not, wait until the Umze returns to chanting. So the generation stage weakens the kleshas and attachment to our impure form. The completion stage eradicates kleshas and our attachment to our pure form is medicine Buddha. And this is how you realize the nature of things. That completes the teaching on the medicine Buddha practice. And what I would like to do now is go over the mudras for the practice. The text begins, Namo Beganzi Maharatsaya. And at this point, your hands are in prayer mudra. The prayer mudra continues through this section and through the next section, which is going for refuge and arousing bodhicitta. That section begins Namo Kunchok Sumdang Sawasum Kyapne Namla Kyapsu Chi Drokun Sanjay Lago Chir Jangjok Chokdu Semke Do. And at that point, then you no longer use the prayer mudra. From there, then there are 4 lines, and if you're doing this at home, it's good to have a bell and dorje. And on the 4th line, which is Zemeg Yurchek Puja Ho, you would ring the bell. After that, there is music. Again, if you're at home, it's fine to just ring the bell. Now, at this point, we have the 4 immeasurables in 2 short phrases. And then after that, we begin the visualization with Om Sabhava Shuddha Sarvadharma Sabhava Shuddho Hang. And there are no mudras for the visualization at this point. The visualization section ends with this phrase: Yeshe papak tume pachen drangne dakdun namla timpar gyur. And then the next section begins with hung. With the hung, then, bell and dorje is used. And so hung, menla, chege, latso, kamalupa, nadir, chendreng, jinchen, waptu sol, kalden, daden, dakla, wanchukor, lodren, seyi, barse, Namo Maha Beganzi Sapari Wara Benza Samaya Za. So there's music after that. If you're not using a bell and dorje, you do not have to use a bell and dorje when you cross your hands. What is next? Now we have invited the deities, and now we're asking them to be seated. So we have Benza Samaya Za Triktalen. Now the next, I have a hard time doing because of my shoulder operation, but this is what we have. We have the middle finger with Om. These are signifying the 5 Buddhas of the 5 Buddha families. Om goes to the crown of the head. I can't quite do it here. There we go. And so it's the middle finger to the crown of the head, not the forehead, but the actual crown of the head. Hung, it's the index finger to the forehead. So it's like this. I can do that. Tram is the ring finger. This takes some coordination. The ring finger above the ear. Then the Hri is the thumb to the back of the head. And the is the little finger over the left ear. And then after that, we come back and do an inward roll like that and end up palms down. So again, that inward roll is, we go from here, come over, have your hands like this, and then end up with your hands palm down. And that's the point. It's Abhikensa Hung. Then it starts Hung. And we are making offerings at this point. And after chanting a few phrases, we get to the actual offerings of Argam, Padyam, Pupe, Dupe, and so forth. There's no mudra up until that point, but when we get to Argam, it's Argam, Padyam, Pupe, Dupe, Aloke, Yende, Nuwade, Shabda, Rupa, Shabda, Gende, Rasa, Saparche. And then we do a outward roll as we go Pratitsa Hung and a snap. And then there's music. Now, the next section begins Hung. Need a bell and dorje here, if you're doing this at home. Trashi so wo zege de so chok yal po yung kar sok. Daki la chupa bol sok ni yon su sok par shok. Mangalam Asha City. Next is begins Hung Tashi So Take De. This there is no mudra, but when we get to the mantra of Mangalan Kumbha Hung, then have the prayer mudra. Hung Doyon Sawa Rinchen Dun. This, again, there's no mudra, but when we get to the mantra, Om Mani Rena Hung, it's in the prayer mudra. And then there is music. The next one begins Hung Kungi Tso Ri Rap Ling. This is the mandala offering. And ideally, you would have it like this with something in your hands. A mala is great. Some rice, a few grains of rice is fine too. And then when you get to the end of that, it's Om Rena Mandala Hung. Just go like that. If you have rice instead of a mala in your hand, you would go Om Mana Rena Mandala Hung and throw it like that. Next is Hung Daki Dridan Drichap Ki. This is done with a bell and dorje. And when we come to the mantra, Om Sarvata Tagada Abhikekata Samaya Shiriye Hung, you ring the bell during that whole mantra. Om Sarvata Tagada Abhikekata Samaya Shiriye Hung. Then there is drying the deity, Hung Rekar Jamri Denpa Ye. And at the end of that is Om Kaya Bishadani Ye Hung. So ring the bell during that mantra. Next, Hung Natsa Zayden Nur Mik Di, and so forth. And there is a mantra, Om Benza Vesa Hung. And at the end of that is music. Next come praise, Hung Kudo Kebendur Ya Ye Riwo Dra. On the fourth phrase, Rinchen Menzin Lala Chakal So. They ring the bell. And then, let me see here. Continue with the bell and dorje. And when you get to the fourth phrase, Rinchen Sumla Chakal, ring the bell. And then in four more phrases, Dutse Menge Lala Chakal. And then there's music here. What is common in these pujas is when you've got the bell and dorje, is every fourth line, ring the bell. When you get in a section like that, it's not sometimes 4 lines, sometimes 3 lines. It's, to the best of my knowledge, always every fourth line. From there, then we get to the mantra visualization and the mantra, and there's no mudras there. That after doing the mantra, then it begins Dik Tung Kunja Gewa Changjut No. Then Nadon Duknal Dralwe Tashi Sho. And then there is music after that. Then the next is Jikten Panam Rangne Benzamu. And with the Benzamu, you go like this. Cross hands, snap, cross them the other way. We are requesting the world, the deities, to go to their, you might say their homes. And then there are no other mudras or music after that. And of course, after you finish the dissolution, then we do the concluding prayers, but they're separate from the text.